And welcome back to episode 197 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Karl.
And we're back. We're back.
We are indeed.
Indeed. Just a couple of days later than planned due to travel and all kind of things going on. But we are back and, quite a few stories this week. Very much UK focused, I feel, this week, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
We're trying to keep the Trump stuff on a low burn, I think, because we could overwhelm ourselves with the amount of chaos that's going on there.
Yeah, that stuff be crazy.
That is, but we will talk a little bit about the TikTok ban. Is it banned? Is it not banned? Is it banned? Is it not banned?
Saga.
Yes, it is, but we'll come back to that. We're also going to talk about Apple Card. We're also going to talk Nintendo Switch 2 because following the podcast last week, it was actually announced.
Yeah, it was.
And we'll come back to that. And also we're going to talk AirPods Pro, and the Tech Rant Rumor Mill has a tiny weeny little rumor in there about a HomePod. But more on that in just a minute. So let's get things started this week then, because let's go straight into it and talk about the CMA. So this is the Competition and Markets Authority, which is the UK's antitrust regulator, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Looks at competition. And we've talked a lot about the CMA last year because they seem to be pretty angry about everybody and everything, didn't they?
Yeah, and a brand new year, a lot of small people to be angry about.
And a brand new boss as well, I should add.
A brand new boss. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Actually, I didn't know that just before. And, we've gone from someone who's basically gone after everyone, and now we've got someone who's an ex-Amazon boss.
Well, that's correct, yes. So the Doug Gurr, the former country manager of Amazon UK and president of Amazon China, is the new chair of the CMA.
Interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, I must say, according to a byline in the Guardian newspaper in the UK, which was last week, their headline was "Competition Watchdog Role for Ex-Boss of Amazon, a slap in the face, say unions."
Yeah, I can't see him being as kind of angry at everyone as the previous boss. I mean, he might be. It just seems if he's come from the tech industry, is he going to go after the tech industry as much as the previous guy?
Well, there were comments made by the UK government, particularly the Chancellor, I believe, saying that the CMA they weren't focused on growth.
No.
And if you look at what the things they were doing last year, before that, Microsoft being a good example, other things, you could argue were they working in the interest of the country? Were they trying to stifle, acquisitions and things that would have actually created other jobs? I don't know. But you're right. It does seem by putting somebody who's worked in big tech, where the majority of the CMA's focus seems to be these days, would argue that you're right, that they are trying to have somebody that understands that industry.
Yeah, can be interesting. So they have opened a couple of investigations already, though. I don't know whether this was under his lead or just before he started. What we're going to start with, they are now looking at Google search, aren't they? And its market dominance in search and advertising. So this is for new rules that are coming in next month, I believe, for the CMA. Initial focus will be on market dominance in search, as well as its AI search initiatives and substantial search advertising business. Again, this is quite like what's going on in the US, isn't it? With the
very much so.
Who is it in the US? It's
is it FCC in it?
FCC, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're obviously looking at its dominance, the underhand tactics I suspect they will uncover.
Is it the FTC? It's Federal Communications, obviously, or is it the Federal Trade Commission? I have a feeling it's FTC, isn't it? But sorry to.
That's all right. That's all right. But yes, so they won't be looking at what they do and how they do it and how they've been doing it and kind of where they're going. But like the US, some of the remedies for this are basically break up the company again, aren't they?
That just seems to be the default response to anything with Google and legal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, split it up, break it up.
We've had enough. Yeah, exactly. So what they'll spit off and how they'll do it, we don't know. This is good. Like all of the CMA ones, we've got till a certain time, I think it's February the 3rd, to submit your comments regarding this initial investigation before it goes into full swing. So this is very early days yet.
I just wonder, though, is splitting up, as we've said, the right way to do this? I don't think it is, because if you look at Google, Google's become synonymous with search in the same way, as we've said this before, the same way that you don't talk about vacuum cleaners, you talk about Hoover, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
and it is to Google is a verb, isn't it? I'll just Google that. Even if you don't mean Google, you
No,
still
exactly. I
what
don't
you
use
can say.
Google, but you still like, I'll just Google it. Yeah.
But I think there are other options on the table today. You'd argue that the market dominance is there because search has become commoditized. I'd argue though that Google's advertising business is probably, as you say, more of a bigger thing, which obviously they mentioned there.
Mm.
And I guess the searching fuels the advertising business, so they do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But how do with splitting it? What if you split it up, what to do? Because somebody else is still going to make money off it, aren't they? Surely.
Yeah, I suppose they are, but I think they want to see a bit more options for consumers that are decent. Well, I don't know, but the CMA can't affect whether it's a decent search engine or not. And Google are doing a
No.
pretty good job at the moment of destroying the search engine with
Well,
AI everything.
I was just going to say the AI summaries at the top.
It used to be that
Sometimes,
you'd do search, and if it wasn't on the first page, that was it. You weren't interested. Now it's like if it's on the first page, I'm not interested because it's just AI crap. I'm going to go to the second page where I might get some actual results.
well, you'd also used to say, "Don't ever look at the top one," because that was always a sponsored link, wasn't it?
It
So
was,
no
yeah,
work,
yeah. Now it's the top
Um,
10 or whatever.
yeah, I look. I mean, I do. I search for stuff as much as I used to. I don't think I necessarily search in the same way as I probably once did.
Yeah, I don't know. I use search definitely multiple times a day. I don't use Google anymore, so yeah, I don't see any of the AI rubbish and all the advertising in it. So my search experience is quite a pleasant experience.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't sponsored links don't work. I use Perplexity a lot now as well.
Yeah,
There are alternatives. DuckDuckGo, of course, is the one that you see
yeah,
a lot of TV advertising for here in the UK. Obviously, it's not the days of the Wild West of search when we had, Alta Vista and Yahoo and God, yeah, Ask Jeeves,
yeah,
which they were all kind of a similar vein. Let's be fair, wasn't it?
yeah.
I don't know. I worry that are we wasting energy on things that necessarily is not going to cause the bigger question is AI. You're right. The AI angle here, and God, I hate that acronym. Is I think the bigger issue in the long run here is what does that do to the search results? What does that mean for the consumer?
It's rubbish. And there's so many AI generated sites now. But I think, regardless, what are the CMA actually going to do? If they say,
Yeah,
right, we need to break up Google, Google's a US company, and we've now got Trump in charge.
Trump's just going to laugh.
He's going to laugh. And ultimately, we're going through the same steps in the US anyway. So if anyone's actually going to have a chance of breaking it up, it'll be a US authority that's going to do it. But again, Trump may still slap that one down. We'll see where
Well,
that one goes.
I was going to say we'll talk about his power in a moment. I was going to say in terms of regards to anything tech, given that at his inauguration we had Tim Cook, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg. I think I saw Satya Nadella, the
Yep.
Microsoft boss. I think they were all at the inauguration, or at least in the circle of it. I mean, whether some of them were there for personal gains or whether they felt they had to, I think is probably you can answer that two ways. I'd argue that Musk obviously was happy as a pig in brown stuff to be there.
Yep. You didn't get that impression with many of the others.
I was just going to say, I was thinking, how do I phrase that? Tim Apple did not look a happy man.
No.
He looked like very uncomfortable. Of like, I really,
Don't want
he
to
looked
be
like,
here.
yeah. It was like a child is like, yeah, oh my god, why am I here? It was very much that case. I saw a really funny thing on social media this morning, and I can't attribute it because I can't remember where I saw it, but it was somebody. Has anybody ever noticed how Elon Musk appears to move the same way as the Sims character does? What's they had a Sims character in a tuxedo, and then
Yeah.
they had Elon Musk, and it was like, what is going on here? I mean, who knows? It may have been AI generated for all I know, but it was
Probably.
funny. It was
Yeah.
funny.
So talking of Tim Apple, though, that's who's the target of the next
Oh,
CMA
yes.
investigation. So this is basically a carbon copy of the DMA, and it's all around them investigating basically a monopoly in the App Store business. Let's say so, not just Tim Apple. We've also got Google and Android, going in there. So have they used their market dominance to restrict consumers, etc.? So it is literally the DMA. So I can see where we're going with this. I imagine in the UK we're going to get the ability to have separate app stores.
I would imagine. Yeah, look, I'd imagine it's coming, and we kind of probably, I think, guess that when we go back to, if we go back to when this was all announced.
Yeah.
I think, let's be honest, we knew it was coming, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course. The UK, we're not part of the EU anymore for reasons we will not get into. We were going to copy them, the DMA.
Yeah, and also, I think from a kind of bigger picture perspective, Apple, it's just going to make more sense in the long run, isn't it, to have a blanket model.
Yeah, well, the US will be one of the last states to.
It will, but it'll eventually happen.
Countries, I should say, to do it.
But it will happen.
Yeah.
Look, I don't necessarily think this is a good thing. I think this does increase risk, personally, and I just, I'd love to have a conversation with somebody who could tell me what apps that they don't find on the App Store that they need, because I haven't come across somebody.
Pirate apps.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I haven't come across somebody in recent term where I've had a conversation gone, yeah, I can't find that app, don't know it exists.
Yeah, but I know it's on another app store.
Yeah,
it's the paid for games that you don't want to pay for.
Yeah, go back 10 years, right? This happened quite frequently. Now, I just maybe I'm the wrong demographic. I probably am.
At one point, I did jailbreak my phone for many years, and I had Cydia installed.
Oh my god, yeah, God.
But it wasn't for things like cracked apps. It was for quality of life improvements that some of the third parties, the developers were bringing in, which ultimately changed how the OS worked to give us, I can't remember what features it was at the time, but just to make life a bit easier. But they're all in the OS now, so it's kind of no need.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's exactly that point. Most of the stuff that people jailbroke their phones for, those reasons have long gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, I think you're right. Ultimately, we're going to follow along the DMA, whether they create a similar version of it. It makes more sense for us to be aligned with European legislation. And have, the same way that we have the DPA, which is the GDPR equivalent, don't we?
Yep.
There are other rules like NIS2 that, whilst we don't have equivalent things like NIS2 and DORA, we will have versions of those aligned to it, because if we don't, it makes it more difficult for us to operate in a European market if we aren't aligned with it. And I know, companies that operate in Europe and are based in the UK will obviously have to follow those regulations regardless. But I think it makes sense for UK companies to also be aligned to those regulations. And the same way here, with the same enforcements that the DMA has. Again, we've talked at length about the DMA, and we don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I see the logic. I see the logic.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, if somebody wants it, fine, but don't come crying when your phone is knackered.
Exactly. Right. One other UK-related story. We are apparently going to get digital driving licenses, even. I'll get the word out. But not the ones we were hoping for.
It's never the one you're hoping for.
I was hoping finally we should be the first country outside of the US to do digital driving licenses in the Apple Wallet. But no, of course, the UK will be building their own app called the gov.uk Wallet app. And it's launching later this year, apparently.
Because we can't do anything that would seem to be like following anybody. We have to do it differently. We have to be. So let's waste a load of money and build a brand new government application when the technology already exists, very well used, pretty much already tested highly in iOS and in Android. But no, we have to have our own app. I'm sorry, I just want to bang my head against the proverbial brick wall.
Yeah, so the government saying that their aim is to digitise various government documents, with all government services being required to provide digital alternatives to physical documents by the end of 2027. Isn't that just an email with a PDF?
Yeah, pretty much.
But this app, which is later this year, will be iOS and Android. But yeah, there's a pilot program meant to be starting for the digital driving license in late 2025. So obviously after the app is out, yeah.
For 3 people in a village in South Wales, probably.
Probably. But it's also going to allow users to prove their age for age-restricted purchases, both online and in person. So this is another step. So how's this going to work? So you're now going to have this website that not only supports Apple's wallet and Google's one, but now each country with their own app, with their own proprietary way of doing it. This will surely take off.
I wonder whether or not eventually following a pilot, the government will realise that it is pointless to restrict this from not being usable in iOS or Android.
No, they won't. They will force it on everyone, and then what they're going to do is they're going to bring in that way to block all the porn again, unless you can prove your ID using a digital driving license.
Fair enough, if that's your
and
bag.
That's what they're going to do.
I didn't mean you per se. I mean, but just to be clear on that.
But you can see this. I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah,
no sense will prevail here.
No, I mean, look, on the face of it, I think this is a fantastic thing. I'm all for this, right?
Yeah.
There'll be some people going, "Oh my god, can you see what's going to happen? You'll have to give your phone over to a police officer." I mean, if you're going to get arrested and you've done some crime, trust me, they're going to get your phone regardless. So let's avoid that worry right now. I travel, so do you, regularly.
Yeah.
I carry my passport all the time. How cool would it be?
My passport. I'd love not to carry that.
To have everything digitized on the device I have. Now, you could argue the battery situation. Yeah, okay, I get that one. That is a small concern.
But it's also on my watch.
Yeah, I just think that, this is a cool way to do it. You're right. Knowing our government, this will just be a complete another cluster duck that will end up being over budget, over time, and just not fit for purpose.
And then hacked into.
Yeah, and you're right. The whole age thing, I get it. Quite frankly, we have a problem in this country with the sale of certain things. It's been proven that online retailers are able to sell weapons, and when I say weapons, I mean knives and stuff.
Not guns or semi-automatics, just knives.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Don't forget. What's his name? Dread Pirate Roberts, whatever his name is. I can't think of the guy's name. Ross Ulbricht. It's free. Because Trump decided that running a underground marketplace where you can buy guns, weapons, drugs, murders was not a crime.
But he used crypto, so it's all good.
Anyway.
He's going to be Trump's advisor for running his new crypto coin.
Probably will be. But yeah, look, I think this is great. And personally, I'm all in favour of a national ID card in this country. This was tried to be brought in with the first Labour government in the millennium. The Blair government some 20 odd years ago. They touted the idea of a national ID card. Quite frankly, I don't see the problem with it.
Other countries have it.
Yeah, civil liberties groups say, let's say it's a backdoor to you're losing your personal freedoms.
But if you've got a driving license or a passport, then it's the same thing.
I was just going to argue that. What the hell are you worried about? If you've got either of those documents, what in the name of whatever deity you believe in are you absolutely concerned about? Because I would rather carry one document that is recognisable for everything. Okay, passports, we know we'll probably need them for other countries, but one other document that can prove who I am for everything and allow me to access services and prove my age. I mean, let's be honest, getting age checked these days is never happens anyway.
It's time to celebrate. Woo!
Well, the only time I get age checked is when I use the self-service machine at the supermarket to buy non-alcoholic beer.
And they don't even look at you, do they? They just go, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's not even the irony that you're not looking at me. It's the fact that
it's non-alcoholic beer.
Anyway, but yeah. So look, I think this is a good thing. I just don't have the faith in the government to execute this to the standards that they need. Maybe I'm wrong.
Great idea, poor execution.
Story of this country.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's talk about Trump just for a second. So, just before Trump came to power, and we talked about this the other week,
we did.
Was that literally on the 19th of January, so the day before his inauguration, the Biden administration followed through on the ban for TikTok that was being pushed through the courts. So, on the 19th of January, TikTok went dark, didn't it? If you had it installed, you went to access it, you got a pop-up message basically saying that the government has banned this.
Wasn't just TikTok though; it was all ByteDance's apps in the US.
It was clear, thank you. All ByteDance's apps, but we'll focus on TikTok for the point though. Saying that basically that it was unavailable, but they were working with they were going to try and appeal to Trump, weren't they, to work on this to get it work. And it says TikTok isn't available right now. A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now. We're fortunate that President Trump has indicated he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. And then basically Apple went, yep, and Android both went, time to go. And they pulled it
all
from
the
the
App Store stores. Yep.
Trump came into power and basically said that he was going to. He made was it assurance to ByteDance that he would give them.
Did he do an executive order? Did he?
Yeah, how many days was it? I can't remember how many days.
75.
Thank you. 75 days for them to find a solution to fix it. However, that still doesn't mean that TikTok is legal, is it, in the US? If you've got it installed,
you're good. You can use it.
But you can't, if you deleted it in a fit of anger or you now want to use it, I'm sorry, you are not getting TikTok on either app store right now, are you?
Ooh, I've got a solution, though. If you go to eBay, there are people selling phones with TikTok installed for between $2,000 and $50,000. So if you're really desperate for TikTok, you can buy a phone with it on.
I mean, not just desperate, because that phone hasn't been wiped, so it's got somebody else's Apple account on there.
Yes. We didn't say sane. We just said desperate.
Oh yeah, fair enough,
yeah. Security ramifications everywhere there, but you can buy a phone.
Well, there's always a way around everything, isn't there? So people have been asking, why have Apple and Android then not put it back on the App Store? You know, Trump said it's fine, you can use it. You know, President Trump, it's all good. You know, he of Almighty, and basically, neither of them have backed down. But there's a logical reason for this, isn't there? Really?
Yeah, of course. It's called the law.
What? Sorry, stop backing up a second. That word doesn't exist.
The actual law, is it? That law, that ban is still in effect. Though Trump has said that he's got 7 days to sort himself out and no one will be prosecuted, they can't actually guarantee that. And I can't remember what the charge is per user, but it could
$5,000 per
user. So it could. What totaled was $850 billion of fines at the extreme. So obviously, Apple and Google are not willing to take that chance.
No, and the law has not been changed. And two senators put out a statement, didn't they, saying that they commend all of the tech companies like Apple and Google and Microsoft, etc., for complying with the law, and they encourage other companies to do the same. And they clearly stated in their statement, the law, after all, risks ruinous bankruptcy for any company violates it. And even though, let's be honest, that Apple is a $3.3 trillion as of Friday end. They don't have $850 billion in cash on hand.
No. Just no. Who does?
I mean, it's a bit different when they say they've been fined 500 million by the EU. They can pay that easily because it's a quarter's sort of money. But $850 billion, which I stress, and you point was you're right. That's a worst case scenario, is still an absurd amount of money. But it's interesting though, isn't it, that some legal kind of observers are looking at this and they don't think actually that Trump may even have the power through his magic Sharpie pen to protect them, do they?
No. And look, and even if it turns out he does, he's not got a great track record of following through. He changes his mind on a whim.
Oh, the whim.
So he's now promised it. It's going through. You put it back in the app stores. Users download it. Now I've changed my mind. Well, by the way, you're now fined.
He was told. Well, no, sorry, I rephrase that. He said on an interview saying that what's there to worry about, that it's mainly young people that use TikTok, and so what if the Chinese are getting information on our young people? It's like, well, I think you're missing the bigger picture here, my friend.
If that is the case, giving all the information to the Chinese anyway.
Yeah, they already know it anyway. But there was a story that came out on yesterday actually on 95 Mac that was saying that there were still ongoing negotiations to get Oracle to take a majority stake in TikTok. ByteDance will retain a minority stake, and this was reported by NPR apparently, that said the White House was directly involved in talks. And it's because we know why Oracle's come up before. We talked about it last time, didn't they? They made
of course they did. Yeah.
And Oracle at the back end, they do all of the web infrastructure. So it's kind of it'd be a simple play for them to do that. But I just, this is not a man who thinks logically, is it? No. Yesterday, you and I were talking off yesterday, about the deportations which are going on in the US, which is terrible, and I don't want to get into the real deep aspects of that because this isn't the right forum for
No.
that. But basically, if you've seen the news, Trump was directing the military to fill up their planes and fly them back to countries where the refugees or illegal immigrants, as he states them, have come from. And some flights to Colombia were banned from entering Colombian airspace, and the president of Colombia said, we're not, you can't send people back in handcuffs. This is not how we
sent
operate.
it to the wrong Colombia. Didn't he spell it with a U?
He did spell it right.
Yeah. The wrong place.
So Trump turns around and went on a Truth Social, basically saying, "Right then, I'm going to tariff you. I'm going to put tariffs on this. I'm going to sanction the leadership." And somebody pointed out, Trump comes to power saying he's going to make it better for the average person. He's going to make sure their essentials are cheaper. So what does Trump do? Trump puts tariffs on Colombia. Where does coffee come from? Colombia. But as it turns out, the Colombian president and their government have now capitulated and have agreed to accept flights from the US. I mean, it's just, I think your words were, big man shouts loud and gets what he wants, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much,
we got 3 more years of this, my friend. 3 years, 11 months.
It'll be more. He's going to do a Putin.
Well, funny you should say that. I did read something today that there was one congressman that said that they wanted to put what they call it, motion a bill. Oh my God, the rain outside. They wanted to motion a bill to allow Trump to have a third term.
Yeah, and then a fourth and a fifth, and
but I'm pretty confident that there was it? I want to say it was Eisenhower that changed the Constitution that you could only have 2 terms, because before that, in theory, you could have as many terms as you wanted.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong. I'll probably get somebody would be like, no, terrible. But I think there was one. It was back around that time. That was it. I found it. The 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution limits the number of terms a person can be elected to the office for 2 terms, and it was brought in 1947. So it wasn't Eisenhower then. Maybe it wasn't. And it was to do with Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had 4 terms.
Oh wow! Okay.
It was like, come on, let's go. But what was it we saw the other day? You sent me something that was quite funny. That he tried to sack somebody, wasn't it? But there was a clause that had been added 2 years ago. That
is the
Inspector General, wasn't
Inspector Generals. Yes, he's basically trying to get rid of all the Inspector Generals, hasn't he? He says that we don't need you anymore. We don't need anyone checking on our corruption. But they've written a nice letter back pointing out that there's a section here that basically says he can't do that. He has to give 30 days notice and actual real reasons, not just I don't want you anymore. that was put in 2 years ago, wasn't it? I guess they saw where this was going and started putting plans in place.
That was brilliant. It was. It basically was like, you can't just say so. You need to give rational reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like it was brilliant. Yeah, I think it wasn't the words. It's like you may wish to reference the White House counsel. Oh yes, we've got a long time. There is a great Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, session. No, what the hell session?
Fred.
What's the word?
Fred.
No, account.
Account. Sorry.
It's a bot account, and it says, how long has Trump got in power left? And it's a countdown. Brilliant. I thoroughly recommend, if you can find it. I can't remember the name, but I'll see if I put the show notes, but it's brilliant. I look at it every day just to remind myself.
I'm going to put one of those buttons on my Stream Deck that just shows the countdown.
Yeah, actually, I've got a spare one. Maybe I should do that. Perfect. So to wrap up then, stories, keep going. So talking of Apple then, Apple Card, still haven't got one in the UK. In fact,
no,
still haven't got one anywhere
not.
else outside of the US. It was launched in 2019 and currently run by Goldman Sachs, the bank who underpin it. But there's been a lot of rumours, hasn't there, the last couple of years, that whether or not
Goldman Sachs aren't happy.
No, I would argue that they won out, don't they? Really?
Yeah, apparently so. So with that kind of in mind, Apple apparently are in discussions with Barclays and Synchrony Financial.
Heard of them? Yeah.
Yeah, to potentially take over management of the Apple Card from Goldman Sachs. So though the existing agreement with Goldman Sachs does last till 2030, as we said, I think Goldman Sachs want out earlier than that. So Apple trying to keep the card going, maybe move it. Now, Barclays, they already do the iPhone upgrade program at least in the UK. I don't know if they do it in other places. So they've kind of already got that relationship, and they're used to doing co-branded or branded cards for other people. Barclays could be the people to take it on.
Yeah, and I think this has been a bit of a black hole of cash, hasn't it, for some of these banks? There's been a lot of talk about running it. JP Morgan Chase were in the running, I think, a little while ago around the Rumours one day. And oh my god, now it's hailing outside. Just in case you wonder,
is it? Is that what that noise is?
That's what that noise is. It is like the end of times, my friend. Apologies for those listeners who are thinking, what is wrong with the audio here? I think Barclays would make a good partner, I guess. You're right; they've got a good relationship with Apple already. It's whether or not that would mean that other countries would get an Apple Card. I have a feeling, given the perks that you get on an Apple Card. European and UK consumers would probably miss out again, because if you look at our credit cards in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of regulation, hasn't there, on removing these perks.
Yes.
Anything that seems that it's a kind of an incentive for you to have the card. There's been a lot of those. I'd be keen to have it. I mean, I'd probably use it a lot. I think for me, the whole digital integration part is the bit that I like. That full piece. The savings account. That kind of stuff's handy as well.
Though it's still got integration's got better now. I mean, I've not enabled it, but you can have Apple Wallet showing your current bank balances and stuff like that, can't you now?
Yeah, you can. I think, look, it is a lot better. I'm not going to say anything different. I just would like to see the card, as you say, but the reality is we're not seeing it at all. That's the problem.
No, and even if Barclays do then take over, it will be a few years before they consider going outside the US if it's possible.
Yeah. But, as you say, Barclays, we've seen a logical partner, but logic never comes into these conversations. I feel it's probably more about how much money you're going to make and how much is it going to cost us.
Exactly. Talking of things that are going to cost you. We did have, let's say, after we spoke last week, there was an official announcement, a 2-minute video released by Nintendo.
I believe this was because of the leak. So I think Nintendo were put over a barrel, really, weren't they? They had to do something.
Yeah, exactly. So they released a 2.5 minute video on the new Switch 2. Still, details are a little scarce. There was no voiceover, there was no deep dive into it. It was just a kind of promotional 2.5 minute video. So we'll link to it in the notes there. But what we do know now, it's what we thought it was. It's going to be released in 2025. There's no specific date. They haven't said how big it is, but it does look around 8 inches. It does have those magnetic Joy-Cons. And this video makes it look like you can use it as a mouse as well.
Yeah.
It does. There's a cool kickstand. The kickstand on the Switch was always a bit rubbish. It was tiny. Now this new kickstand goes the entire length of the device. It's a lot more sturdy. We've got an extra USB-C port now, haven't we? One on the top and one on the bottom. So that'll make it a bit easy to charge while you're gaming. They've only showcased Mario Kart currently, haven't they? Or a new title in the Mario Kart series, I should say. So it's not Mario Kart 8 Deluxe again. It looks like a new one, and it looked pretty good.
However, I have seen a lot of posts that are saying that it is not an OLED screen.
Oh, that would be annoying if they just brought out the OLED.
Yeah, there's a lot of posts that I've seen across the internet that are saying things. Again, there's no confirmation on this, saying that it looks to be LED rather than OLED based on some of the pictures saying.
Maybe that's to do with getting the pricing down. I mean, I've heard rumors it will be under $400, which isn't a massive amount more than what the original Switch was. No. So maybe it's a pricing issue to try and get that down and still within a price band that consumers will buy without questioning too much.
Yeah, and I think they're aiming kind of talk around that they were aiming for 1080p gaming on the screen rather than 720.
Yeah.
I would imagine they'll probably look at 4K upscaling as well.
Plugged into a TV, yeah.
Yeah, for that, which makes sense. I mean, this will sell like hotcakes, it will.
Of course it is. And it does support backwards compatibility. They said both physical 100%. And digital Nintendo Switch games. You can sign in with your Nintendo Switch Online account and download all your store purchases. Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, that's what I did with the Switch. I picked up for the kids, first generation
Yeah.
Switch. It doesn't come out the dock, so I wasn't worried about the LCD screen because it stays in the dock. But yeah, I signed in, downloaded the games, all the ones I wanted. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome.
I do like the look of the new Switch. I think you're right. The Joy-Con placement with the magnets is quite cool. I worry that's going to get broken though. Did you see some of the clip bits?
Yeah. Well, there's what looks like a PCB that comes out with the contact bits on it, isn't it?
Oh, that made me wince.
That made me go, oh, that looks like that might break.
Yeah.
And that's attached to the device itself, not to the Joy-Con.
yeah, that looks expensive.
We will see. I mean, Nintendo have said there's going to be a dedicated direct presentation scheduled for April the 2nd, so we don't have too many more months to find out a lot more detail.
No, there was a new Mario Kart game announced alongside it as well, which looked very cool.
It does.
We'll get more information, I suspect, at the Switch event. But yeah, I think Nintendo didn't aim to release this when they did. The comments and rumors that I've seen look to be that they were forced into a situation where the leaks were too accurate. So I'm sure there'll be a bit of an Apple investigation going on there to understand who did that. But what we got released really was just confirmation, wasn't it? Because
something is coming, more details to follow.
Yeah, and basically everything you've seen is right, effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it does look nice though. It'll be interesting to see what the price is in the UK, how much of an actual upgrade it really is hardware wise. I'm not expecting next generation graphics. They're aiming at 1080p, I imagine. So we'll see.
Look at what the Switch managed to do, Nintendo managed to do with the first gen Switch in terms of the capabilities on the hardware. Look, it looks good today.
Yep.
It doesn't look terrible when you pull, the Breath of the Wild, things like that. It stands up well. 10 years.
Always the advantage of a console though, where you're developing for the same hardware that everyone has. It's the advantage that Apple has with its tied together software and silicon.
Absolutely. So before we follow up then with the room bill, there was one little story that we want to follow up on, which was AirPods Pro hearing aid features. Now these launched last year, didn't they? With the AirPods 2 following, was it 18.1, I think, wasn't it? I can't remember now.
Yes.
That came out. So it allows you to use the hearing aid, use your AirPods as a hearing aid to allow for picking up of background noise. Also, alongside this, they released the hearing test capability, which allowed you to do a hearing test, which was pretty much the same as, I want to say standard hearing tests.
It does all the noises in your ears. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Can you hear that? That kind of thing.
So that was made available in the UK earlier in the year, this year, 2025, I should say. I had a go on it, and it proved what I already knew, which was I can't hear some low sounds, which was quite interesting. But you're right, it was a tone thing. But they were missing the hearing aid capability, and I think what we discovered, was that they were waiting for sign off from the NHS, particularly
at least the UK government, isn't it? So
is it nice? I think it's nice, isn't it? Who regulate it. However, Apple have now said that this is coming following changes in government policy. That apparently was to do with the government has now said that here there's a new 10-year plan for help that's around changing hospital to community, analog to digital, and sickness prevention. Don't you love it?
Yeah.
One of those things is wearable technology, and therefore they've changed it that there is a new, based on the US, a specific category of over-the-counter hearing aids. So
you don't which is what Apple come under in the US, isn't it?
Yeah. So you don't need to go to a audiologist like your wife has, isn't it? Proper hearing aids that are done. You can buy them over the counter as long as they meet the requirements of your, I guess, hearing loss, or isn't it, or whatever. So this is really good. I think this is fantastic. I can't wait to try them just to see what it's like. Though, if you recall, do you remember when Apple announced this in September, and they did all the Apple event, and they had the I want to say the grandmother, wasn't it, wearing her AirPods at the birthday event, and I just felt myself, you're
going to feel like an idiot.
You're going to be that one person who's like going to have to explain. It's like, why have you got your AirPods in? They're my hearing aids.
I'm not being rude listening to music. I'm actually using to help listen to you.
I just, that part I feel I'm going to struggle with, but I'm really interested to try this. And it hasn't launched yet, even though we got iOS 18.3 the other day. 18.4 is now rumored to be coming as well. So I'm curious, but I want to hear what your thoughts were. Really, I guess.
And it's interesting you said about the having them on and people think you're listening to music when you're using them to help you hear them. I think my wife has the opposite thing. When she is listening to music in a hearing aid, people can't tell. So they'll be talking to her, and she has no idea because she's listening to music or watching a video on YouTube or whatever it happens to be. You're like, hello, hello. It's like, yeah, have you got voices going on in your head right now that aren't mine? But no, it'll be interesting.
That's a whole different problem, by the way.
Different one, yeah. That's something to do with hearing. It will be interesting because I remember going through the whole thing with my wife initially when she got them a year or two ago. We go through the proper procedure, all the testing. And multiple times we went back to try different hearing aids and to get the substantial cost, but also just getting them tuned just right.
Yeah,
so my wife does suffer the high end, but also for age, she suffers very badly on the low end. And trying to get the low end right was actually the biggest problem because the low end it picks up a lot of noises that can cause feedback and squealing in the hearing aids if you don't get it just right. So there was a lot of trial and error to get that just right. I mean, thankfully we've got it that sorted now, but I am dreading next time we have to go and buy some new ones.
I don't envy you on that one at all. But yeah, I think you're right. It'd definitely be interesting to see, especially the tuning, because you can do all of that on the device with your earpods in. The Pros, of course, because they have the seal, so it can check for the sounds. It can allow you to do toning, and it also can then apply that profile to listening to music and other.
That applies that profile when she's got audio using it as a Bluetooth device and it comes through.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
And it's interesting you said about obviously AirPods Pro sealing it. That's one of the things if you have low end hearing, the low frequencies, is you quite often need when it's sealed. Well, she didn't want one because it looks like you've got something in your ear, and that problem people think you're never listening when you are. So she's gone for one that goes over the ear and just has a small insert into the ear, but it's not
I understand.
tight like the AirPods are.
So this could, I think this is a game changer personally.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of effect it has for you.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, your wife's hearing is much worse than mine. I just struggle with there's a lot of low background noise, and if it can help in especially in as much as I say the consciousness of wearing the AirPods, but in a social situation, like at work and stuff, there's a lot of people I struggle to hear. If that really helps in conversational, for me, I'll take the hit, and just be like,
go for it.
I can't hear you. This is helping.
I'm not the rude guy in the corner.
Yeah, no, but actually, what you don't realize is I'm lying to you. I'm drowning you out with heavy metal because it's far better than far better than listening to what you're telling me. But yeah, so we're still waiting to understand when that's going to be coming. But I would hope anytime soon, given that really.
Fingers crossed.
Announcement. Cool. So then. Right, HomePod Mini 2 then.
Well, yeah, you have a few HomePod Minis, don't you?
I have. I've got 4.
You've got 4? I think my son has one in his bedroom. But yeah, so that was released, now, 4 or 5 years ago? 2020.
Late
these
2020,
were released,
yeah.
But pretty much, other than a couple of new colours along the way, nothing's actually changed on it, has it? But
No, nothing has changed. I guarantee you. It just plays music. She Who Cannot Be Mentioned is ridiculously annoying. Yeah. But they do what they say on the tin.
They do. But
perfect.
German says we are going to get a HomePod Mini 2, expected to launch in late 2025. It will coincide with the release of the new Apple TV 4K. So I'm suspecting this is October, November when he says late 2025, because we'll have the Apple, the iPhone, whatever, in September, won't we? So
80, yeah. So this will be around the same time. 17, sorry. Yeah.
No details of pricing other than you just said it's coming. Now, I suspect the reason they are doing this is I bet they'll be upgrading the CPU for Apple Intelligence.
I agree, and I think this is probably, even though he kind of alludes to it, I do think this is part of a wider release of home accessories. So this could be then, along with the new HomePod with the screen. This could be with the cameras that were rumored potentially as well.
Yeah,
I almost wonder whether we'll see as part of the event or the separate announcement as well.
I think we could see it as part of the main iPhone event in September. You're right. I mean, we have had Apple TVs in there before, haven't we? if it's coming out at
Yeah,
the
I
same
think
time.
they've done.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure we have. But yeah, I'm sure this is to enable Apple Intelligence so that she gets a bit smarter.
Well, I'll be honest with you, she needs more than just an Apple HomePod upgrade to get smarter. The best thing about it is the fact that it can leverage ChatGPT. That gives me better answers every time than she should not be mentioned.
Yeah. So look, we'll see where this one goes, but I'm hoping they don't put the price up too much. $99 or whatever it is a tempting price.
Oh, it's a good entry level. If you just want a small smart speaker, and I know you can go and buy an Amazon Echo for much less money, but if you're in the the Apple ecosystem, it's good value.
Yeah.
They're great little products, and they do look good. They sound good. Apple do make good speakers, despite criticism in that area. So yeah, I am 100% up for this personally.
Yeah.
Let's see. So coming out then, let's say later this year, it could be expensive. Oh well, and rumors of it at the M5 iPad Pro as well, which could be coming.
Yep. All the toys.
Oh,
Time
all
for
the
a
toys.
refresh, Jay.
I don't know. Do you know what? I don't think so. I think the M1 powered iPad is going to probably take me for at least another year minimum.
I'm happy with the A17 Pro in the Mini. It's plenty nippy enough for what I do on the Mini. But yeah, I'm creative. I use it as a consumption device. It does everything I need it to do.
You know what? Same here, because I have got I've got no issues at all with the M2 Pro that I've got on my Mac Mini here. I've got no issues at all with the M4 MacBook Pro that I've got, obviously, because that just eats everything. That is a machine. As in a real powerhouse. It is just that hopefully one day I can make it sweat just a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
But at the moment it's doing what it needs. So yeah, look, I think it's going to be an expensive year if you're buying new tech, but for me at least, I think it might not be as expensive if it's only audio equipment. I could probably get away with that.
Yeah.
Right then, we'll be back next week then for episode 198 with all the latest updates and stuff. We'll be coming probably next week with a bit of an update on AI. I'd like to talk a little about DeepSeek R1, which is the Chinese open source, but open platform, which has been rivaling OpenAI's 0.1 model and blowing a lot of people away. But we'll talk more about that next week in a little bit of an AI roundup. But of course, you can find us on Twitter. We're on Blue Sky and, of course, YouTube as well, and wherever you get your podcasts. Please tell your friends about us. So with that, I've been Jay.
I've been Karl. Have a good day, all.